for the markets so that from university they are ready and accessible to opportunities within Kenya, in the region, and across the world. That's what we are looking at. And therefore, we shall come up with the very pertinent proposals and perhaps a cabinet memo which will be taken through the new administration for implementation. We are looking forward also to briefing a new committee of Parliament on education and research so that they think with us, reason with us, and implement the ideas that will emerge from this conference with us. In the past, we have seen that we think about something differently from the way the committees have thought. And therefore, a lot of proposals that we came up with in the past were not implemented because they were killed somewhere along the way. And that is the challenge that we're having at university education level, where there are good thinkers, there are good ideas that emerge from such discussions, but the implementation, it becomes the challenge. So we go back to the zero square. I hope this time it will be different. We also hope that we shall brief the political leadership that has just taken over the leadership of this country so that they have a different view and therefore support for university education.
Okay, Sasawa, thank you so much, PS Nabukwesi. Of course, he has put into perspective, painting a vivid picture of what is being discussed and going forward. What is it for Kenyan universities and education system at large in Kenya? Of course, we'll be bringing you up to speed and, of course, in our subsequent bulletin on what will be discussed from here. From Mombasa County, back to you, Irene Muchuma.
Thank you, Mwandiga. Good to have you. In other news, the Kajiado County government has disbursed relief food to over 20,000 families. The county has set aside 74 million shillings towards relief assistance. Kajiado is among 21 other counties battling adverse effects of drought. In Mandera, 400,000 households in the area are in dire need of food and water.
The drought situation in Mandera County has reached alarming levels. More than 400,000 households are severely affected. 200,000 people are staring at food insecurity, and close to 100,000 children are likely to be acutely malnourished by the end of 2022. Some households have gone days without food.
Sina chakula chochote, sina kilo moja mchele kwa nyumba, sina maji hata ya kukunywa, sina chochote. Niko na bibi iko kidogo mgonjwa, niko na shida mbaya sana,
na hata dawa ya wanyama na ya binadamu wote tunaomba wakuje wengi na waharakike kuharakisha hiyo watu kusaidia.
There is a lot of droughts, animals are dying throughout, goats are dying, camels are dying, and there's no livestock feeding, and also farmers nowadays they are not producing well.
The situation could, however, worsen, with the National Drought Management Authority warning that if September rains fail, the county will be in crisis.
We classify drought in 4 phases. So for this county now, we are in the alarm phase of the drought.
Humanitarian agencies have set up relief projects but are still appealing for more aid from both levels of government. The hardest hit areas in the county are Mandera East, Arabia, Lafe, Banisa, Mandera West and Mandera South. In Kajiado, the county government has released food worth 75 million shillings to be distributed across the 5 sub-counties to aid more than 20,000 households dealing with the drought situation there. Area Governor Joseph Olelenko assured residents of a fair distribution of the relief food.
All of us are working together to identify the families and also to distribute the support that will be coming from various quarters, whether from county, national or other support groups, to make sure that we run a very transparent process.
A spot check in various schools showed that many students couldn't sit their internal exams as they had been enlisted by their parents, since they have to walk long distances in search of pasture for their livestock. The hardest hit areas in the county are non-comparing Chingombe in Olorskison, Shalinki and Kitengela wards, Kwari in Kaimurunya Ward, Gishagi and Mathare slums in Ngong Ward, and Majengo and Ildemat Ward. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Now, a 33-year-old man from Makonga area in Mumias East constituency has died after suffocating in a well which he was constructing. The deceased was alone when the tragedy struck. Kakamega County firefighters later retrieved the body from the deep well and moved it to the Mumias mortuary.
Sasa mimi vile nilikufika hapo akanionyesha niingie huko hivi, kufika nikaona shimo, nikajua sasa anafanya kazi ya maji. Sasa nikajua basi sasa hiyo kama ni maji, sasa nikajua basi hakuna. Hiyo ndio nilifika tu hapo nikaishia hapo, tukaona sasa hakuna sasa hiyo tu. Sasa nikaona hakuna sasa, imeisha hivyo. Hiyo kitu nilipata na ameshaenda hivyo.
We now cross over to Naivasha. My colleague Gladys Mungai is on standby this as she is with the senators as they are taking part in the induction process. Mungai, what is the latest from you?
Good afternoon to you, Irene Muchuma. Indeed, like you rightly put it, we are coming to you live from Naivasha, where the induction process for the senators is currently ongoing. This happens to be the second day that senators are just being enhanced on the matters to do with knowledge and skills to ensure that they deliver on their mandate come the commencement of business under the 13th Parliament. And today morning, we had a session on enhancing intergovernmental relations, where we had presentation from the former Speaker of the Senate, that is Honorable Ekwe Thuro, as well as Chief Justice Martha Koome, who addressed senators virtually, as well as a representative, Commissioner Caroline from the Office of the Attorney General, basically trying to tell the legislators on how to sort of ease the deadlock in matters legislation and to ensure that, so to speak, the National Assembly as well as the Senate works in cohesion and ensures that there is no push and pull in regards to matters of passage of bills and enhancement of the delivery of the mandate to the people who elected them into office. I really don't want to preempt much on this. I want to be joined very quickly by the Senator for Murang'a County, that is Senator Joe Nyoto. Joe, welcome. We are live on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you.
First, congratulations on your election. Speak to us about what has been happening today. We had yesterday issues to do with basically the battle, the rivalry between the National Assembly and the Senate, and today we have matters intergovernmental relation and the challenges. What is your peak from the presentation so far?
Thank you, Gladys. Joe Nyoto is my name, like you have rightly put it, Senator of Murang'a County, and we are here in Naivasha, like you have said, since yesterday. And today we had the privilege to be addressed by the Chief Justice. Although it was done online, she was not able to come. She was the first guest speaker today. And basically talking about what the Senate should do, the mandate of the Senate under the law, under the Constitution, its relationship with, as you know, Senate is part of Parliament, which is the legislature, the relationship between the legislature, the judiciary and the executive, the three arms of government. And we have also had a presentation by a representative from the Attorney General's office, basically talking about the same things. And the Speaker Emeritus, the Honorable Ekwe Thuro, was also here, or is still here, and has talked to us about especially the journey that Senate has traveled since 2013, when they didn't even have a chamber and had to be, housed somewhere within a KICC. And as you have said, the rivalry between the two houses, that is the National Assembly and the Senate, is also something that we have been taken through. And for now, we believe that stalemate will be, we are going to break it because we have good political goodwill. As you know, the current Speaker of the National Assembly has been a two-time senator and they have given their commitment that him and his counterpart in the Senate, the Honorable Kingi, who has also been governor for 2 terms, are going to iron out these issues. And I can assure you, Gladys, that this rivalry will be a thing of the past in the days to come.
Senator, former speakers Ekweduru has spoken about the Senate reclaiming its position, and this coming at a time where we have, so to speak, a push and pull between the National Assembly and the Senate on who holds more power in terms of the upper house. What's probably your take on that in terms of probably Senate reclaiming its position, bearing in mind that it has some veto powers as envisaged in the Constitution?
Thank you, Gladys. One thing that has come out very clearly, and that it should be clear to everybody, is that the powers, the Constitution vests powers in Parliament. And the Senate is a house of Parliament. And so basically all the powers that, although Senate basically deals with matters devolution, but all the powers, Senate also enjoys all the powers under the article, the act that gives Parliament the mandate. And so I believe it's a matter of, yes, it's the upper house, but then I think the drafters of the Constitution 2010 did not actually give all the powers to the Senate to make it in a way to make it the upper house. But basically, the thing that will remain very clear is that Senate will basically be maybe the final house as far as matters devolution are concerned.
Thank you so much. There you have it. Irene, that is Senator for Murang'a County, Senator Jonyuto, basically giving us his insights in regards to today's session. I really want to hand it over to you since the second session is just about to begin. And in the second session, we have the newly elected chair for the Council of Governors, that is Anne Waiguru. We also get to speak from the Auditor General, Nancy Gathungu, in regards to matters to do with audits on how the country has done so far. So I want to hand it over to you. We follow up on the proceedings from the conference room. We'll be giving you more updates in as soon as we have the news as it unfolds. Back to you, Irene.
Good job, Mungai. And as the senators meet in Naivasha, we're also having a similar event in the county of Nairobi where members of parliament are going through an induction process, and my colleague Kamche Menza is on standby. We understand that the induction process is helping especially the newcomers to the Senate and also the members of Parliament, and in Safari Park members of Parliament have been urged to deter the Treasury from accessing high interest loans, perhaps because the country is going through tough economic times. But I'm told we'll be linking up with Kamche later on in this bulletin. For now, let's cross over to Embu. A prominent businessman in the region is fighting for his life at Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi after he was shot by unknown assailants along Embu Kiriteri Road. The incident occurred when the businessman John Dwiga, in a company of a friend, were on their way back to Embu town from Majimbo area. Embu West Sub-County Police Commander Julius Kiumbure says the victim sustained injuries on the mouth after a bullet exited through the left side. He further stated that the investigation into the incident has commenced.
So they called us and told that there was a shootout. Our officers who were on patrols responded immediately, and they went to the scene and found that, in fact, the members of the public had already ferried the victim to the hospital. He was transferred to Aga Khan Hospital, where he is now stable and being treated at. But the matter is now under investigation, and I'm sure within short duration we are going to get our facts about the whole incident and what was the motive of the shootout.
Chief Justice Martha Koome says the judiciary will continue to facilitate the operations of institutions dealing with devolution as a way of entrenching the principle of governance in Kenya's governance systems. Koome, who was addressing senators during their induction in Naivasha, however, called for increased collaboration between the three arms of government, noting that the Kenyan institutions were still fragile and therefore needed support in discharging their responsibilities.
We are developing rich indigenous jurisprudence that has protected the spirit and the tenure of devolution, and this has also enabled the devolved institutions as established under the Constitution to function optimally. The courts have done this by adopting a purposive approach to constitutional interpretation. We all serve the same people. If we are in the executive, if we are in the judiciary, or if we are in the legislature like you are, we all render service to one Kenyan, who we fondly refer to as Wanjiko. When Wanjiko is suffering for failure of a system and failure of delivery of service, it doesn't matter whether the Senate has done its work optimally, whether the executive has done its work optimally, and the one who is failing the Wanjiko is the judiciary. All of us fail. So we must pull together, and this is why we maintain within the judiciary a very vibrant interaction with the stakeholders through the National Council on the Administration of Justice.
Two contestants for the Nyamira County Assembly Speaker's seat have threatened to move to court, citing irregularities in the exercise. The duo called for the nullification of election to pave way for a fresh one. Enoch Okero and Mike Makori faulted the election process from the advertisement to the final poll.
The process of swearing in members of the county assemblies and the election of county speakers entered its second day Wednesday.
Do swear that I shall always truly and diligently serve the people.
In Nyamira County, two candidates who contested for county assembly speaker seat have vowed to move to court, citing irregularities in the exercise.
21, 22.
The duo claimed the election was interfered with and that the seat should be re-advertised.
There is somebody who was elected. According to what we know and the information we are getting from outside here, is that the guy is a dual citizen, is not a Kenyan. He can move away from Kenyan time, and at the same time, it's like he influenced the outcome of the result, because even the advertisement and everything which was done, it was done to favor him.
I don't know how. Then, if you are a citizen of another country, you can come to hold a position, such an important position as one of a speaker in our county, whereby you are supposed to be there and preside over the day-to-day running of affairs of the county.
Meru High Court Judge Justice Edward Murithi gave conservatory order prohibiting Clerk of County Assembly of Meru from presiding over the swearing in of 4 MCAs nominated under the marginalized category. The matter shall be heard on Friday at 10 a.m.
The political parties listed in the Gazette Notice number 10712, Volume CXXV, number 186, Schedule 1, Meru County, marginalized list, forthwith, together with the persons shown as nominated thereunder, to enable them file and serve the respective responses before close of business tomorrow.
Leo niko na furaha kubwa sana kwa hii ruling court ya Meru imefanya. Na hii kulingana na report ile nimepata, kuna almost 30 counties mmekuwa affected kwa maneno hii ya nomination ya watu wanaoishi na ulemavu.
Tension and fracas was this morning witnessed at the County Assembly of West Pokot as a nominated MCA alleged to be from Isiolo County ejected by locals. The protesters claim Ahmed Desi Isaac Ali, of a Somali origin who was nominated to the County Assembly of West Pokot as a minority, was not from the area.
Kuna mtu anaingia kwa bunge ya West Pokot, huyo ni mwizi, nasikia anatoka Isiolo. Yeye anataka kuapishwa hapa, hata ukimuuliza Ramaget ajui, ukimuuliza pale Karas ajui. Itakuwaje? Lazima tuheshimu katiba.
In Kericho, former CEC, Finance and Roads during the immediate former governor's government, Patrick Mutai, has been elected as Speaker of the County Assembly of Kericho.
Having been elected as the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kericho, do swear that.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. We are taking a short commercial break. More news after the break. And also, my colleague Betty Kiptum will be engaging us in a conversation on why we should invest in Africa. Stay with us.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Wanapiga wimbo yangu. We, hiyo wimbo ni yangu.
Bana usitupotezee wakati hapa. Nakataa. Mnakani wewe.
Sikuwa rada. Ona siasa hii ndo niko rada.
Nakuuliza, mtu akitupa akili yake, atoe kwa jichwa atupe, anapaki na nini?
Yule alikuwa ameniweka kimongre mchini. Unacheki?
Mimi sielewi. Si tuletee ukufiatu kisi zako hapo.
Sikuwa na rambatada mtu wangu. Si hata ulikuwa unacheki kundara. Sikuwa na rambatada.
Mosumbiting.
Simbiti kuzombo toto.
Uzibitingala, simbitingi, besingla, samade ni wewe.
Nando nakwambiaje, ukirieu, machuda, makete na makwete. Utazipata
wewe. Umeuliza nini?
Wewe. Sitaki mchezo, unasikia?
Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Now, members of the National Assembly are taking part in an induction process from a Nairobi hotel. My colleague Kamche Menza is now on standby and ready to engage Westlands Member of Parliament Tim Wanyonyi. Kamche, good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon to you back in studio, Irene Muchuma. Like you said, we're here at the Safari Park Hotel, where it is day 3 of the induction workshop for the members of the National Assembly. And what has been happening of late, or rather yesterday and today, is that there have been sessions. Members have been breaking in group sessions to discuss a number of issues. One of the issue is on the budget making process. And of course, this is one of the topics that touches on a number of issues. Just to mention a few, there is the public debt, there is the borrowing, there is the debt ceiling, and many other issues. Of course, we understand that the cost of living is currently affecting many Kenyans in the country. So that is one of the sessions that members have just gotten out of right now for a lunch break. But I'm joined by Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, a Member of Parliament for Westlands, just to give us a sneak peek of what exactly has been happening here. What we have seen for us who have been in this particular room is that there are issues that have been raised, but from the Parliamentary Budget Office is that the Parliament or parliamentarians have a mandate or have a role in ensuring that Kenyans or other parliamentarians do not allow the executive to borrow a lot or to increase the debt ceiling. But has Parliament been sleeping on its job? Welcome, Mheshimiwa. We've heard so much, and of course what Parliamentary Budget Office has said is that the Parliament or parliamentarians have a mandate or have a role, have the power actually to ensure that the executive does not exceed what is allocated or what the country needs to take. What do you have to say about this?
That is a very correct assessment, because all the government estimates to budget is brought to Parliament, and they go to various committee stage where all government agencies, departments present their budgetary estimates, and the committees are supposed to scrutinize and interrogate those policy statements and look at them critically vis-a-vis the last expenditure and the current one. How have they done? The money we allocated to them last time, how was it spent? Was it spent well? Have they accounted well for it before we allocate them more funds? Because sometimes that is where the problem begins. You find that we have allocated money and then they come back for looking for more allocation, and they don't exactly explain properly how they have used or utilized the last funds that was allocated to the ministry or the government department, whichever is dealing with that. Now, government, the role of Parliament here is to make sure that there is prudent expenditure of public resources, so that we don't have wastage, and also to look at where is it that we are having loopholes, and that what has the Auditor General has said about a particular allocation that was maybe properly used or not used properly, so that informs us to see if we can still give funds as requested, or we reduce it, or we send it back. Yes.
Poor planning and again weak legislation is what has been said to be part of the issues that are actually contributing to Parliament, not oversighting executive as per se. Do you agree to that? And going forward, 13th Parliament, are some of these issues likely to be solved?
Yeah, going forward, what happens, the reality is this. Sometimes we deal with theories, but the reality is sometimes Treasury bring their budgetary estimates to Parliament. We interrogate those things, but when they go back, they almost overhaul everything and change and bring back something different from what we had passed in Parliament. So sometimes we find that Parliament looks like, are we just rubber stamping, or are we actually making sure that there's prudent expenditure of public funds? And if we can manage to stamp our authority as Parliament, I'm sure the executive will be careful on how to expend the money. And sometimes we have seen also government spending money before they come to Parliament for approval. So that is another loophole that creates bad manners on the side of government, that they have already incurred this expenditure. Now they're just coming to us to approve. What are we approving? Because we did not, first of all, approve what they have spent. And sometimes the explanation is not convincing, but because they are the originator of that, you find that it becomes a bit tricky for us. But I think going forward, Parliament must be very vigilant, so that we make sure that we have public resources spent well by the executive. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. Irene Muchuma, that is it from this end. Of course, these are stations that have been engaging a number of members, 349, but they have been going into some small groups for these particular stations, that to ensure that when the sittings begin for the 13th Parliament, then everything will be okay for the country, and some of the issues that have been ailing the country will be solved. So basically that's it from here. I hand it over back to you in studio, Irene Muchuma Odim.
Thank you, Kamche. Looking forward to more details. Now, time for business news. Betty Kiptum is on standby with the business news. Betty, besides the interactive session that we're going to have on why we should invest in Africa, what else do we have in business news this afternoon?
Thank you, Irene. Well, we shall be telling the viewer why Kenya, or how Kenya is leading in green financing investment. That is coming up in a little bit. But first, a story on matters poultry farming. Poultry farmers in Embu, Nakuru and Nairobi counties are set to benefit from subsidized chicks and an assortment of extension services from Kenchick's one-stop shop in Rironi, Embu County. Kenchick Managing Director Jim Toza says the subsidized chicks are aimed at increasing broods that have declined in recent months due to the high cost of animal feeds.
With the cost of animal feed at an all-time high due to the current drought affecting parts of the country and skyrocketing cost in the international market, some poultry farms have closed shop. Kenchick now says it will distribute subsidized chicks to assist farmers restock and reduce the cost of poultry products production.
And we are engaging with key stakeholders at the government level as well, for them to understand what's actually happening and the impact on the industry, as well as trying to mitigate against rising costs. I think we've been able to keep our costs as low as possible without compromising on the quality of the products we supply.
Kenchick has also partnered with Unga Group to provide digitized extension services.
We're going on from that. We are looking at financial services, working with the bank, how we can partner to mitigate some of the costs of borrowing directly for farmers in credit facilities.
Then it's up to us to see. We work together to see how do we cushion, what elements of the cost can we take in as a producer or manufacturer to be able to cushion the farmer so that they don't close shop.
The developments comes after Kenchick commissioned the Rironi Chicken One-Stop Shop facility that offers an assortment of key extension services to poultry farmers.
We decided to open this Rironi with the opportunity of getting closer to the customer and really providing what they need in terms of services, products, extension services, technical services and financial services.
Poultry farmers are calling on the government to intervene and reduce the cost of animal feeds.
Kura ya kuku imetuumiza.
Every other week you go to the shop and they tell you there has been an increase in feeds, which has been such a big challenge for us because with the high cost of feeds we have fluctuating egg prices. The feeds may go up and the next market day the egg prices have gone down, and that is beyond us.
Benson Ruba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Now, across borders, Zimbabwe's gross domestic product growth could decline by about half of its 2021 levels to about 3.5% this year. The IMF attributes the decline to a slowdown in agricultural and energy outputs owing to erratic rains and rising macroeconomic instability amidst a recovery in mining and tourism. Here are the details of these and others making headlines across Africa.
The IMF pointed out that uncertainty remains high and the country's outlook will depend on the evolution of external shocks, the policy stance and implementation of inclusive growth-friendly policies. The IMF said it notes the authorities' efforts to stabilize the local foreign exchange market and lower inflation. In this regard, the recent tightening of monetary policy and the contained budget deficits are policies in the right direction and have contributed to the narrowing of the parallel market exchange rate gap. Zimbabwe's economy has been on a downward trajectory for nearly 2 decades. Meanwhile, Mozambique and the IMF team reached a staff-level agreement on the economic and financial policies that could support the approval of the first review of the program under the ECF arrangement. The extended credit facility provides financial assistance to countries with protracted balance of payment problems. They noted that the macroeconomic environment remains challenging. The authorities aim to continue implementing their ambitious economic reform agenda. The agreements await the approval of the IMF Executive Board in December, which would enable the disbursement of about $63.8 million. Finally, in Dodoma, the Tanzanian government has said efforts are being stepped up to expand the scope of business between mainland Tanzania and Zanzibar to enable traders and the general public from both sides to further enjoy the benefits of the union. Deputy Minister for Investment, Industry and Trade spoke of the government determination as part of the efforts to expand trade between the two sides of the union. Some of the measures including sensitizing business companies and individuals to participate in trade fair organized on mainland or Zanzibar. Other efforts focus on assessing to determine non-tariff barriers affecting business between the two sides and bringing Tanzania Revenue Authority and Zanzibar Revenue Board on the discussion table for the objective of resolving certain trade issues.
Well, we now want to talk about matters investing in Africa, and the Investing in Africa conference is supposed to take place in London on the 10th and 11th of October this year, and Verdant Capital is one of the main sponsors of that particular conference. We want to talk to Edmond Higginbottom. He is the managing director of Verdant Capital. Thank you very much, Edmond, for joining us. And just if you could paint a picture of how the investments landscape in Africa looks like.
Driven by population and given by abundant resources is very clear, but I think in the medium term, short to medium term, we have some headwinds. But we are seeing higher interest rates in the US and in the West, as well as high commodity prices, high food prices, fuel prices. And those factors are negative to Africa, to the economies of Africa, at least in the short to medium term. But notwithstanding that, we see a lot of good opportunities across the board. East Africa and the balance the continent, we work across the board. And really, we're looking at businesses, or looking for businesses, particularly in the financial sector, which we see as being resilient in a downturn or resilient in volatile economic conditions, but also offering growth in their businesses at a premium to GDP growth. So businesses which are expanding into new untapped markets, or expanding their market share, or have a baked-in competitive advantage. In terms of our business, I was going to say, very quickly, in our business, our focus is investing in SME lenders, so specialty financial institutions, small banks, microfinance banks, a newer generation of these businesses as well, lenders. We're investing in SME lenders, businesses that are lending money to SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses. But we're particularly looking for businesses which are technology-enabled, and businesses which are really embedded in the overall financial ecosystem.
That is Edmond Higginbottom there from South Africa, speaking to us about investing in Africa, and he was talking about the investments landscape in the continent, and just saying the way there is quite some positive pointers to investors looking to put money into Africa, including the economies that are growing currently at a very quick rate, despite the slowdown that COVID-19 occasioned there. Despite the slowdowns in the economies, that economies in Africa are still growing very well. Edmund, we had lost you there a little bit. Could you just continue with the investments landscape in Africa?
So I think sort of just rounding out, we're looking for good opportunities to invest in financial businesses which have a strong degree of resilience in volatile economics, and offering GDP growth, offering growth in their businesses faster than the broader economy, and they're offering that growth through competitive advantages, maybe technology-driven, maybe other business practice. And they're either tapping into untapped markets, or they're growing faster than their competitors and winning with market share. And particularly, we're looking to invest in businesses which are lending to SMEs, using, enabled by technology and embedded in the broader ecosystem.
Technology investments. There's quite a lot of fintech support or funding that has been coming into the continent. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, 2021 was a boom year for venture investing in general, and particularly in fintech investment. 2021 is probably the biggest amount of capital into Africa venture ever in history. It's about $3 billion, and that's broadly consistent with themes elsewhere in the world. The venture and technology and fintech have generated a lot of excitement in capital markets globally. And we have seen a bit of a slowdown this year, 2021. Investors are looking for opportunities where there is a strong evidence of traction. The business models having traction in the target market. The business models have strong visibility on when they will become profitable business models, or if not profitable already. So the focus is 2020, but there's still good money to be put to work in the sector, and there's still very, very exciting companies that are coming through the ecosystem.
Right. Let's now talk about the conference. You decided to sponsor this particular conference. What tipped your interest, and what do you achieve, or do you aim to achieve during the conference, especially in terms of attracting investments into the continent?
We've had a very close partnership with AFSIC, dating back for about 10 years now. The AFSIC conference in London is a great place to meet a lot of interesting African businesses from different parts of the continent, particularly those businesses involved in the financial sector. And there's also a great opportunity for us and for others to reconnect with our close partners, our European partners, who invest alongside us or in our funds, in our structures.
Right, Ed, could we now talk about matters East Africa, because now we are bringing it closer home. East Africa has quite the population, about 145 million people. That is the potential market for anyone really investing in East Africa. There is also a combined GDP of about $147.5 billion. These are 2021 figures. It could be higher by now. What do you think is the place of East Africa in terms of investments in the continent?
So East Africa has always been a little bit ahead of other regions in the continent in terms of their broader financial ecosystem, and in terms of how that's evolved in technology and new business practices. And I think about that broader ecosystem, I'm thinking about things like what I call the rails, so mobile payments, mobile wallets, how data is aggregated and stored, and data around financial transactions. And East Africa has always been a little bit ahead. Kenya perhaps at the vanguard of these changes. But other parts of the continent have caught up to some extent, or are catching up. And where Kenya, East Africa has led, Southern Africa, West Africa has followed. Nigeria is a very big economy as well, and that's been based on that market. Has been very successful in raising venture capital and other forms of capital over the last 2 years as well.
Right, and as Verdant Capital, have you invested in East Africa, and what maybe is your experience having invested here in East Africa?
So East Africa is our, notwithstanding other parts of the continent catching up, but East Africa is our biggest region in terms of investing. It's our biggest region in terms of all our activities. We completed an investment 2 months ago, a $7 million investment in a business called Watu Credit Uganda. Watu Credit Uganda is a business that provides financing to border drivers, taxi drivers, and so they can put down a small deposit. They can have a bike, which is their own. They can make money every day. They can pay their loan off once a week by mobile money. better lifestyle for them and their families. And at the end of the 2 years, they own the bike. They own a bike that's 2 years old. They've paid off the loan. And for some border drivers, that's the first thing or value that they actually own. It's a very impactful business, but it's also a very profitable business. It's a business which has very strong credit underpins, very strong credit methodology and security of loans. And it's a business that's very scalable. So that's a great example of the sort of opportunities we're looking to support through our funds and our other activities. Right now, I think we've got another 6 investments in final due diligence, and we hope to complete most of them this year. And that's just East Africa. So East Africa is our busiest region at the moment, but we are currently investing in Southern Africa and West Africa as well, and we look to look for similar exciting opportunities across the board.
Right. When we talk about all these opportunities that do exist, of course there are some challenges that maybe investors face and also the business persons who are looking for investment face. Could you delve into that a little bit?
So one thing that makes international investors nervous is currency risk and the ability to take local currencies, profits in local currencies or dividends or interest payments in local currencies and convert them back into euros or pounds or dollars. And certain markets in the continent, that's been very challenging. So, for example, in Ethiopia, it's been difficult to get capital out of the country. Nigeria has had some challenges on and off in terms of getting capital out of the country over the last 5-10 years. And East Africa has performed very well in terms of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania performed very well in terms of free transferability of currency, and that's actually very important because as an investor, you can look at the company, you look at the financials, you look at the management team, you can understand the business model, you can go on site and do due diligence firsthand and get comfortable making an investment. But it's very little you can do to take money out of the country if the currency stops being really transferable.
Right. Ed, so as we come to a close of this conversation, what are your closing remarks, and specifically, what do you foresee as the future of investment in Africa?
So from a longer term perspective, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, abundant opportunities, large population, strong population growth, strong resources, large markets, and these markets are being ever more penetrated by formal consumer goods, by more formal financial services, a broader range of consumption and investment. It's a very, very significant opportunity in the medium to long term. Short, medium term, I think markets are a little bit more volatile in Africa, largely driven by global macro trends, which are probably net less favorable to Africa for right now. And between all that, what's most exciting of all is a generation of entrepreneurs who are building businesses and have built businesses, and those businesses are scaling and growing, and they're offering something very different to their consumers, and they're offering something very different to the investors as well. And we look to support those businesses as they grow. We're not investing in early stage businesses. We're more investing at the growth stage. We look to support those businesses, and we look to get a very solid performance for our ultimate investors by doing that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ed, for your time, and thank you for speaking with us. We hope to see you in London for the AFSIC 2022. Well, that is Edmund Higginbottom. He is the Managing Director of Verdant Capital, and he has been speaking to us from South Africa on investing in Africa ahead of that particular conference taking place on the 10th and 11th of October 2022. We have talked about investments in Africa, what makes East Africa tick in terms of an investments destination, and we hope that Kenya in particular will attract quite some investments from that conference. Well, that's it for the business news this afternoon. My name is Betty Kiptum. I will now hand you over to Irene Muchuma, who will take you through the sports news. Irene?
Thank you, Kiptum. In sports, Kenyan teams registered mixed results as the Federation of East African Secondary Schools ball games entered Day 5 in Arusha, Tanzania. Kenya's Hospital Hill lost 22-25 to Uganda's Dynamic in the semi-finals of boys handball, while Moi Girls also lost 14-20 to Kizunguru of Rwanda in girls handball. In girls basketball, Olympic of Kenya lost 30-43 to Nabisunsa of Uganda, while Uganda's St. Noah humbled Oreswa of Tanzania 57-48. In boys basketball, Kenya's Dagoretti High School narrowly defeated St. Cyprian of Uganda 64-63, while compatriots Dr. Agri trounced Nsumba of Tanzania 83-61. Uganda emerged the overall winners in the previous edition of the East Africa Games held in Arusha, Tanzania, with 27 medals, 11 gold, 9 silver and 7 bronze, while Kenya maintained dominance in athletics, bagging 10 gold, 11 silver and 6 bronze medals. It's a wrap on Channel 1 Lunchtime News on this day that Kenya is joining the world in marking Alzheimer's Day. And just as I said, we'll give you tips at the end of the tail end in regards to this disease that is associated with memory loss. And how will you handle your loved one? Understand the disease first, be empathetic to them, track symptoms, and finally maintain a schedule for them. All this, you can get them on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Thanks to our vibrant digital team. My name is Irene Muchuma Odem on sign language interpretation. We have Byron Abuli on behalf of the entire team. Good afternoon.
To get Change Your Thinking Skiza tune, dial star 811 star 961 hash.
When you change the quality of your thinking, you change the quality of your life. Sometimes instantly, just as positive words can make someone calm,